What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World and I make music production and sound design videos for dance music here on YouTube. Now, I usually don't do this, but today we're going to be reviewing a plugin from a fellow producer by the name of Matt Nash. Now, he sent me a couple of emails I have yet to respond to, but I did get a free download at one of them, and I decided, you know what? Why not? We're going to give this plugin a chance and review it. Now, the reason I usually don't like making these kind of videos, guys, is because people work hard on these plugins, and a lot of the times I don't have nice things to say about them. So, in order to counteract that, I thought we'd start a little bit of a review series here on this channel and rate these plugins on a criteria of 4 things. Number 1 being the Moog score. How does the UI look and perform? Number 2, the sausage score. How does the plugin perform at its intended purpose? Number 3, the money score. How much bang for buck do you get out of this plugin? And number 4, the shed score. How much fun did I have using this plugin in my studio shed? Because we are in a shed. And with that being said, guys, if you want to support my channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com where you can find all of my sound design work. I have a brand new sound set coming out called Dirty Chicken Volume 3. So you're into the tech house sound and are looking for Dirty Bird style sounds, make sure to check it out. And with that being said, let's get started with this review. So let's begin by looking at the plugin page, the page that is meant to sell the plugin, and it's going to show us what it offers. First thing, Matt Nash presents DST. I'm going to assume it's called 3. With a dot at the end, multiband distortion to bring your sounds to life. But just looking at this plugin so far, it definitely looks like a techno plugin. So maybe it's not for the EDM crowd or whatnot, but we'll see as we go along. Take your sounds to the next level, 47 pounds. I calculated how much that goes out to, and that's about $51. So it's definitely not a very expensive plugin, but again, we have to look at the features it offers in order to know if it's good bang for your buck. From there, simple and power user interface. So it looks like they're already trying to get a good Moog score here. Next level 3D interface to inspire easy editing and endless tweaking. We have a bit of a wave graph here that's going to be showing up. I'm not sure if the plugin is going to have that, but it looks nice. And from there, it does look kind of high def, so that's good. 3 modes of distortion, so that's what the 3 stands for. 3 unique distortion algorithms ranging from subtle to extreme. Each provides different characters and tones to give you more options when creating. From there, we're going to have 4 bands to manipulate into your own sound, which looks like it's going to be an EQ in a format kind of like the old EQs back in the day where you would just kind of move that little knob up and down, but instead it's going to be very versatile in that you can extend them if you wanted to. So we're going to have 4 individual bands give you full control to tweak, edit, and sculpt your sound, input, output, gain, and frequency range control. So definitely an EQ. It'd be interesting to see as I boost this, is it distorting and whatnot? We're gonna find out. Feel the difference before and after examples of DST in action. So we're just gonna hear the first one for the sake of time. So let's see what we got. All right, so if you know Matt Nash, he's a producer and he's known for this sound. I believe he had an old song called something about love or something along those lines. So definitely good to hear that his signature sound is here. Now let's see what DST did to it. Very crunchy. So definitely hear that the sound got louder and it sounds a little bit more rich.
Very, way more stronger.
Like he knows what he's doing. All right, from there we reach the testimonials page. Now, usually I don't allow this to be a good deciding factor in whether I'm going to purchase a plugin or not, because if someone were to send me something, a good mate, and like, what do you think of this song? Usually I wouldn't destroy the guy. I know he worked hard on it, so I'm not going to say this track actually sucked really bad. Sucked worse than the Sour Patch Kids. But again, you can see Armin van Buuren is probably one of the big guys in Data Life, saying good things about the plugin, and then we got a couple of other producers here. So from there, it looks like we have the technical specs, and then we have the last page here, Bring Your Sounds to Life DST III, buy now, 47 pounds. And then from there, it looks like we have some reviews, and again, really good. Usually it looks like the Amazon treatment where like you have the good reviews, but you don't have the 1-star reviews at all. Usually 1-star reviews makes it look a little bit more like real. And sadly, you know, I don't know if there's a way for me to input a review. So, oh, there you go. But no, I can't input anything. So again, take it with a grain of salt. Not bashing Matt Nash or anything here, just saying take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so from there we have a couple of videos that have used the plugin, and then 14-day return policy, which is good. So just by looking at the landing page, we can see that it's a multi-distortion plugin. Looks fairly simple to use, and in all honesty, it looks pretty nice for the price that you're paying for it. With that being said, I'm gonna bring up the plugin now inside of Ableton, and we're gonna mess with the UI a little bit. All right, so I have the plugin up here on the thing, and it looks like we cannot elongate it in any form or way, but the plugin doesn't look too bad, and it doesn't look too indie for what it is. Now, again, moving knobs, and you can see there's this nice little light that goes with the knob, and I know some people might be going, why are you reviewing the plugin on this? Some people care. Okay, so with the distortion, you can see this kind of turns the light on and off, and for some reason, I'm getting like a feeling like if I go black and then come in, Drake's gonna pop out and start hotline blinging this.
And I know when she opened the door.
It definitely reminds me a little bit of the music video, but I think we're inside like a transistor or something. So from there, moving the knobs feels really nice. There's nothing finicky about it, very responsive. We're not seeing any glitches, so that's really nice. From there, it looks like right here, we're gonna have the 3 distortion types easily accessible. So that's nice to kind of know, 3, 2, and 1. And then by clicking edit, it looks like it takes us to that page that they had, where we're gonna have the bands. We can definitely move them and increase, and we can go up and down. Again, nothing bad occurring as I do this, and this is pretty cool. Now, there have been instances where certain plugins, Ableton won't allow me to automate them, even some of the own Ableton instruments like the sampler. So let's see if this is gonna allow me to automate it. So I have put it on a Moog bass, which we're gonna put it on later in the video. And then from there, as I'm moving this, it seems like we're not getting any response from Ableton. So why don't we try configuring it by just clicking here and seeing if we can add it, and sadly we can't. So that's something maybe Matt Nash and his crew might want to look at, as you know, giving instances for automation might be important. Instead of putting a low pass, I might choose to just lower down the high, etc. But again, not too bad, not too shabby. The words definitely look a little but that's going to be the UI of it. Again, a very simple plugin, and just by looking at it, it's already my style of plugin. Usually the kind of plugins that I enjoy using are like very simple to use plugins like Decapitator, where you have 5 different distortion types, and then from there you just increase the drive, and you can have a couple of settings with EQ and whatnot, and that's it. Why overcomplicate it? So I definitely like the fact that the UI doesn't look too bad. Is it gonna get a high score? We'll see at the end of the video, but for now, not too bad, not too shabby. All right, so in order to test this plugin out, I have a couple of tracks laying around. Some of them are done, some of them are not, but this one's gonna be fairly more towards the end of being done. It already has somewhat of a master on it, so I just gotta let you guys know that, just so that it doesn't influence too much of your decision on whether this plugin sounds bad or not. I do have a master going, so maybe I would have to alter this master, but again, just letting you know to begin. Now, I have this Moog bass here that I recorded on my Moog Matrix over here, which is gonna have Decapitator, and it's gonna sound something like this when we hear it. Okay, so we're going to test in this portion of the track out the plugin. I'm going to get rid of my Decapitator and my EQA just because I don't want it, again, influencing the way this is going to sound. And we're going to apply DST right here next to the Decapitator. So hopefully it doesn't get decapitated in any way or form. Okay, so the moment I put this on, again, there's a couple of things I'm going to look out for. One, the increase in volume. I am going to gain stage down because we don't want this to just go like, wow, it got louder and it's, yeah. Like, now the original sound's going to sound like this. Okay, around 12, and with Decapitator on, it's going to peak at. Okay, around 12 as well. So we'll make sure to stay around that range. So if you hear like a big boost in volume, again, don't let that impress you. It should impress you when we gain stage back down. Okay, so what we're going to do is put DST on. Okay, not too bad. We do have an increase in volume. So let's apply a bit of distortion here. Okay, so now let's assume that you're going to use the plugin this way in a very simple format where you're literally just going to increase the drive and that's it. Call it a day. From there, let's gain stage down. So far the plugin does what it's intended to do, which is provide a good tasteful distortion to it. Now, when I was creating this song, I did have issues with the bass. One of them being the mid-low sucked on it because it's a sine wave getting pitch modulated to give it that little pop, and it's sort of an 8080 sort of bass, similar to like the Dirty Bird stuff and whatnot. So let's see if we can increase maybe here. We're gonna use the EQ, remove the overtones here because we don't really need that in this bass. We want more of this, and then from there, let's boost this guy up to see if I can bring in something tasteful, and well, let's distort the low mids. Okay, so giving me a good amount of punch there. I like that. Now let's make sure the volume is the same. Okay, so utilizing DST on this one track, I definitely enjoyed it. Very simple to implement, as you guys can see. Now, again, I kind of already knew that I was lacking mid-lows, and just adding this and having the freedom to do this is awesome. For 57 pounds so far, or 51, sorry, I'm pretty happy with the result. I actually like this a little bit more than the Decapitator, and that's in all honesty there. The main reason is that Decapitator sort of like clamps down on the bass for some reason, while DST allows it to just fucking hit a little bit harder. Excuse my language there. So definitely really cool kind of plugin to use there. Very simple, but very effective. So for this next example here, I have this track, which is not finished, which is going to be more like synth wavy / progressive in nature with an ARP. And again, it's going to be the Moog matriarch as well. So that's where the tone is coming from. And it's going to sound like this. Okay, and then from there in the track. What I'm going to do for this scenario is I'm going to get rid of my Neutron 3 equalizer and my Decapitator as well, so that we have pretty much kind of like a clean slate. I'm still going to leave essentially the compression there just for the sake that I don't want to ruin the sound, and for some reason that bugged out, so this would get a bad score on the Moog. All right, so there, we're going to put DST on this sound. And then from here, what I want to do with this, again, we need to have a purpose every time we put a plugin. And with this, I'm going to choose to get that crunch that Matt Nash had in his example. And again, we are going to worry about gain staging and everything to make sure that the sound is at the same volume as the unaltered one, so that way you can make an educated decision if you like the sound it's providing. So for this, I'm going to go with, let's try a heavy one just for the sake of it, as we want to kind of use the plugin in all its glory. All right, so we're going to stay with the number 2 just because number 3 is bringing up the analog synth's noise level 2 up. So it definitely is a heavy form of distortion there. So we're going to do that. From here, let's add a bit of distortion. Bring this up to 18, and we're going to gain stage back down to 18. Okay, one last time over here. Okay, let's get a little more tasteful with this. So I'm definitely going to lower this down a bit. So it sounds pretty decent. Now, in putting the high drive on that definitely makes it sound a little bit more EDM-y, which might not be the right thing for this track, especially when you have a bunch of stuff like that going around. So you're going to have to mix around it. But again, if you're looking for a distortion plugin from the looks of it that really can get that crunch out on these sounds, then you can definitely put this on and see how it does. But it doesn't sound too bad. Definitely not on the warmer side, but I feel like you could definitely alter to make it sound warmer by just easing up on the high distortion there and opting for more of a different thing. But again, this is how it sounds like on a saw lead, for those of you guys wondering. So far the plugin hasn't really done anything too crazy where I'm like amazed. It's just doing its intended purpose pretty well. Again, it definitely sounds a little EDM-y and can get a bit too out of hand if you're like an easy trigger finger on the high distortion. But it's easy to kind of think the sound sounds cleaner and bigger once you start hearing that. But now we're going to kind of twist it around. This track here that I have, I don't know what to consider it, but it's going to be more of a warmer track. And my goal is going to be to use DST in a format where it accentuates the lead but makes it also sound a little warmer. Right now I do have RC20 on it, but I've taken the liberty of getting rid of the distortion it applies and also the cut it's going to do to see how, in fact, we'll get rid of the whole EQ for say, just to see how it's going to react to this. So like this is going to sound like. So it's sort of like a very chill song with a piano, but this lead definitely sounds a little icky. So we're going to kind of work on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to solo it again. Okay, now there is going to be this sort of color on the master, so that's why that saw lead sounds like that. But again, we're going to try and counteract that with our DST. And RC20 is going to be providing a little bit of modulation on the magnetic side, which gives the lead this sort of drift vibe, a bit of reverb, and also some noise level. Okay, so from there, let's put DST on and see what it does in this scenario. So we're just going to drop that thing in, and we're going to drop it over here. From there, maybe get rid of the EQ8 for now, just to see if we can just use this thing as a standalone like enhancer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of highs. I think that's the first thing we have to do. Okay, so from there, let's add a bit of distortion. It already has it at 50%, just a tiny bit more. And then from there, again, I'm not going to go and boost the highs on this because I want to keep it warm. So let's try a bit of the high mid. Okay, so it's definitely not the cleanest sounding compared to when I had RC20 on. So if they could apply like a more of a rounded sort of filter, that would have been nice as well. So that's sadly a thing there. So I can't achieve the warm sound that I hear in my head, but it's definitely not too bad in order to execute it. Now, just one last time so that we hear what it's going on. This is how it's going to sound like without it on. Okay, so it has definitely a distinct sound, and it definitely makes the sound a lot better. It didn't really capture what I was trying to do. And again, I think that just has to deal with the fact that if this was made in a way where maybe I could round it out in a way or form, then it would sound a lot better. So I wouldn't necessarily say DST for the retro sounds and making warmer and whatnot. I'm sure you could probably do it if I was better at this or whatnot, but this is the take I get from it. For me personally on this scenario, it's okay. it's decent. So for this last example, I'm going to be putting DST on another ARP lead, but this one's going to be a little bit more on the harder edge, and I feel like DST is just going to be used more as a way to enhance and make it sound cleaner rather than going full out distortion on it. Now, the sound we're going to be putting on is the main sound in this drop, and it's going to sound like this. Okay, so let's try it out. So we're going to put DST behind this Desmort that I have from D16, which is providing a bit of a bit crush effect, as you can see at the end there, to give it that crispiness. And then from there, we're going to use DST here. Okay, now again, I'm probably going to use it in distortion type 1 as I'm trying to accentuate, and then from there, we'll see what we do. And I'm also going to be using the EQ feature here. Now, I'm going to get rid of Neutron 3 just because I don't want it affecting anything I'm going to be doing with DST. Okay, and then from there, of course, I want to get rid of some lows. Okay, yeah, it already put a smile on my face for this one because it already sounds a little good. Or is it from here? Let's maybe decrease a bit on the mid-lows. All right, cool. So on this one, definitely, the plugin definitely put a smile on my face and gave this a much needed boost in the high end for sure. All right, so let's bring this back up and just hear the sound itself to see how it changes. So again, Neutron 3 is off, Desmort is on, so I can get rid of that as well if per se, but without it on, it sounds like... So in this one, I actually enjoyed the plugin because it allowed the lead to cut through a bit more, and it sat a lot better in the mix as well. So again, this track is going to be more along the lines of synthwave / electro-y in a sense, but I really enjoyed how, you know, I was able to kind of manipulate the band similar to Saturn, set up a couple there, and then just accentuate the lead rather than do too much. Because if I get rid of this, it already sounds decent, and now putting it on, very small change to it, but again, it gives it that needed extra boost at the top end since it's such a main lead sound. I kind of like the way it did it. Now, again, my ears may be botched at this point because I've been hearing all this music and stuff. But again, I really liked what it did there. And again, if DST is good at one thing, it's definitely making these damn leads cut like a knife. All right, guys, so we've tested out the UI for the DST plugin, and we also ran it on some tracks that are somewhat done, somewhat not. And from there, we can kind of make an educated decision and rate this plugin on the criteria we talked about at the beginning of this video. So for the first one, the Moog score, pretty much the Moog score is going to entail how the UI looks and how it performs. And for the DST plugin, I'm going to rate this 3 out of 5 Moogs. Now, the reason for this rating is the fact that the UI plugin is average at best when it comes to the UI. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's average. It's not above it. It's not below it. But the thing holding it back, and the reason I didn't rate it higher as the UI is definitely not shoddy in any sort of way, is the fact that, again, we cannot automate any of these parameters, and I consider that a UI interface sort of deal. If the creators of the DST plugin could provide automations, then that would raise the score up a lot tremendously. But the fact that you cannot automate stuff is a huge deal breaker for me, due to the fact that sometimes if you want to get rid of some highs, it's a lot cleaner to go into the distortion plugin than to use an EQ, a digital EQ for exact, and if you're an audiophile, you'll understand why. So for that reason, 3 out of 5 Moogs. The next score we have is the sausage score. How well did DST III perform at its intended purpose, and how versatile is it as a multiband distortion plugin? And for this, I'm going to rate it 3.5 out of 5 sausages. Now, the reason for this score is 1, it's above average at what it does, and that is, again, multiband distortion. However, it's missing a lot of things to get that 5 out of 5. One of them being, again, filters. While we do have an EQ and we can emulate filters, the fact is that you cannot put a low pass or a high pass on this. And again, that's a huge deal breaker for me, especially if I'm going to be using this for other genres like tech house, chiller stuff. Again, if I'm trying to make progressive house in the style of Lane 8, again, getting that warm sound is definitely going to be difficult with this. However, the reason it gets a bit of an above average score is the fact that it's good at what it does. If you're looking for a multi-band distortion unit that's going to make your EDM leads or your tech house generic leads stand out, pop out, have cut to it, then this is probably a good multi-distortion plugin that you can utilize. The next score we're going to be rating DST on is the band score, which is how much bang for buck you get out of DST. Now, usually I would rate this really high because for $51, a multi-band distortion unit, it's a steal. However, there's a huge elephant in the room, and that is going to be Trash 2 by iZotope, which you can usually pick up for about $29.99, and sometimes iZotope even decides to give it out for free during certain times of the year. However, with that, taking that into mind and taking into mind that you have Saturn out there, which is another multi-band distortion unit with, again, much more capabilities than DST, I'm going to rate DST a 3.5 out of 5. I think the price they're asking for is really fair, above fair. But again, when you take in consideration Trash 2 and you take into consideration the fact that this plugin is really good for the EDM producer, but not for everything, then I think that's a fair score to give. And finally, guys, the last score I'm going to be giving out is the Shed score, which is a score I give to plugins based on how much fun I had using it in the studio in the back of my house, which is a Shed. And for this plugin, I can honestly say I would rate it a 4.3 out of 5 Sheds. Now, the reason for this is the fact that I gravitate more towards plugins that are fairly easy to use. Again, you have 3 distortion units and that's it. And if you're using this plugin specifically, then you have to make do with what you're given. And I think that's huge because you got plugins out there like Saturn and Trash 2 where they can get super complicated and it makes you doubt your decisions, especially beginner to intermediate producers where they don't know what kind of sound they're going after. Then again, this keeps things simple. You can EQ easily. You don't have to do crazy stuff. There's no modulation parameters, which is a good thing in certain environments, of course. If you're just trying to saturate or distort something, why do you need to have this access to this? It can sometimes hinder rather than make you go like, yeah, I'm going to make badass stuff with it. A lot of times we tend to overthink. And that's the reason why I would give this 4.3 out of 5 Sheds. All right, guys, so again, I didn't get paid to make this review for DST III by Matt Nash. He emailed me and I never responded, to be honest. But again, this is going to be my honest review on the DST plugin. If you want to support it, then I'll make sure to leave a link down below my website at evilsounds.com if you want to support my channel and get some sound mix for Silent Wonder Serum. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you have any thoughts on this plugin, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. Hit a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time for another video. Much love. You guys take care and peace out.